My name is Lucy Smith, and back in 2019, which seems quite a while ago now, I broke, completely broke. I had a great job, I had a great career. I had a career in law enforcement, but I signed the Official Secrets Act, so I can't tell you about the exciting things I used to do in that career. And really, they are exciting. But I broke. I couldn't be employed anymore. I couldn't go to work. I didn't want to go on. And so I stopped work, maybe impulsively. I handed my notice in, and I stopped completely. But what led me to that point started 4 years before, in 2015. And I wonder how many of you can remember things that happened in 2015. It's almost 9 years ago now. In fact, it is 9 years ago. In 2015, believe it or not, we had zero inflation. Can anybody remember what that felt like? Zero inflation? 0% inflation. In 2015, Princess Charlotte was born. In 2015, David Cameron won yet another election with the Conservative Party. And then the next year, what did that lead us to? Don't say. We don't like the word. But also, in 2015, my 9-year-old daughter attempted to take her life for the first time. Now, the story I'm going to continue with is one of hope and inspiration. She's still alive. She's 17 now, almost 18, and she inspires me every day to keep going and keep doing the things that we're doing. And actually is one of the reasons why I'm stood on this stage today. But when that happened, she came to us and she said, "Mum, I need to tell you something." She said, "I feel like an alien in the world. And I just don't feel like I fit in, and I don't want to be here anymore." Whew, that's a bit of a shock. Now, by profession, I am a change manager. I have an organisation called Inclusive Change. And as a change manager, I know we go on something called a change curve. When any change happens to us, in work, in business, in our personal life, change hits us. And there's this thing I talk about called a change curve. And I draw a picture when I do it like this when I talk usually. I go whoosh, okay? And remember that bit at the bottom, okay? Because that's the bit that's really hard for us sometimes. And the change curve is something that was created and written about by Elizabeth Kubler Ross back in 1969. She was a psychiatrist and she used to help terminally ill patients come to terms with what's going to happen. And what she realised and what she wrote about is that most of us go through a number of emotions when we're hit by change. That first emotion is usually shock and denial. So imagine back in 2015, I went into shock and a little bit into denial. This can't be happening, surely. My 9-year-old? No. So you start off in shock and denial. You then move into anger. What happens when we're angry? We want to fight everybody. We want to fight ourselves. We're angry with ourselves. We're upset with ourselves. We're upset with everything. It's everybody else's fault. Can anybody recognize some of these emotions and the things that you go through when you're hit by change? Quite often it happens in the workplace. And so as a change manager in the workplace, I recognize that when we tell somebody something's going to change, oh my goodness, we're going to have these emotions come out. And they're going to come out in different ways from different people. So you go through the anger, you go into bargaining then. What if? What if we do this? What if I do this? What if this compromise? Could I do this? Could I have done this? And then, quite often, and Elizabeth Kubler-Ross did say, not everybody goes through these at the same point and at the same time. You go into depression. And remember I went whoosh, and that bit down the bottom? That bit down the bottom is when you hit that depression. And that bit down the bottom when you're in depression and when you're in sadness is really, really hard sometimes. And we need to help ourselves when we're there. We need to help ourselves when those ripples of change become crashing waves, okay? Now, hopefully, with the change curve, usually you'll come out of depression, you'll move into acceptance and what they call integration, which sounds a bit, I think that sounds a bit, bleh. So I don't like that. But you go into acceptance and you move forward and you start to make changes in your life. When you go through acceptance, you generally start to say, okay, this has happened, but I'm going to be okay. Okay, this terrible thing has happened, but we're going to be okay. And you move forward. But something else that I wanted to attach to this is around that point when those waves become crashing and you feel that your boat that you're in is about to sink, you need anchors. Now, I'm not a sailor, okay? But the subtitle of my talk is When is a Wagon Wheel an Anchor? Now, anchors are things that keep you steady. And as people, we need anchors. We might not even realize that we have those anchors and we use those anchors. For me, it was things like my work and my family and my kids at school. I'll explain a bit about where they changed in a moment. But anchors in general keep you steady, okay? But they can hold you back, and if you hold on to them too tightly, actually you'll go under when those crashing waves are all around you. So you need to know when to let go of your anchors, when to pull them up, and when to move forward. Now, an anchor can be many different things. And so, anchors can be a routine. It can be a food. It can be a person. It can be a place. Somebody recently said to me that their anchor, when they are feeling in a time of distress, is to go and buy ice cream at an ice cream shop. Another person I know is somebody who will watch a TV program or a film over and over again. Every day they watch the same TV program or the same film because it gives them comfort to know that something is anchoring them. During that day, when they've had everything else happen, they come home and watch that film. The title of this story relates to wagon wheels. And the reason why is in a training session, we had a delegate who was in a training session with us, and we were talking about anchors. But at that time, there was a very tragic thing that had happened in their family. And a young person or a young adult in their family had lost both of their parents very close together, okay? But every day after the death of their second parent, which was incredibly sad, they went every day to their grandparents' house. And their grandparents had a wagon wheel set out for them every single day. And every single day, still now, they go to their grandparents' house and they have a wagon wheel. Even when their grandparents are on holiday, they leave out a packet of wagon wheels for him. So he can go in and he gets his wagon wheel. And that, for me, is why a wagon wheel is an anchor. But hold on to this, okay? Because sometimes we need to let go of those anchors. How can we let go of those anchors? Do we feel comfortable letting go of those anchors? Sometimes no. For me and our family and our story, our anchors, I had to let go of them all. In fact, I had to realize that many of them were no longer there. My daughter was sad. We had to go into reaction mode, and we helped her and we supported her. And 9 years later, she is incredibly happy and she is living her best life. But sometimes we need to know when to pull those anchors up and when to move forward. I know today that we have had a lot of stuff to talk about around sadness. I have talked about things that may be things that upset people or make you feel incredibly sad sometimes. And I want to point out to you something called the Hub of Hope. The Hub of Hope is a website that was set up by somebody who realized that you could get Deliveroo or Just Eat or something, food delivered to your house within 20 minutes. But to find mental health support, it can take you days, months, or years. So Hub of Hope is a website that's been set up where you can type in your postcode and you can find support or help for mental health or a crisis at any one time. I'm going to finish by saying my story is still not over. Our anchors change. I know who they are. I know what they are. I've thrown some of them out. I've pulled in new ones and I put them there. But for you guys, think about your anchors. Think about those times when life is thrashing those crashing waves at you. Think about your anchors. Take them, use them, and help them to hold you steady. Thank you very much.